Our scripture lesson for today is in two segments, both from the book of Exodus. First, I'm going to read from Exodus chapter 2, verses 16 to 22 from the New Revised Standard Version. Let me take my mask off. The priest of Midian had 7 daughters. They came to draw water and filled the troughs to water their father's flock. But some shepherds came and drove them away. Moses got up and came to their defense and watered their flock. When they returned to their father Reuel, he said, "How is it that you have come back so soon today?" They said, "An Egyptian helped us against the shepherds. He even drew water for us and watered the flock." He said to his daughters, "Where is he? Why did you leave the man? Invite him to break bread." Moses agreed to stay with the man, and he gave Moses his daughter Zipporah in marriage. She bore a son, and he named him Gershom, for he said, "I have been an alien residing in a foreign land." The second segment comes also from the book of Exodus, chapter 18, verses 1 to 4. Jethro, the priest of Midian, Moses' father-in-law, heard of all that God had done for Moses and for his people Israel, how the Lord had brought Israel out of Egypt. After Moses had sent away his wife Zipporah, his father-in-law Jethro took her back along with her 2 sons. The name of the one was Gershom, for he said, "I have been an alien in a foreign land." And the name of the other, Eleazar, for he said, "The God of my father was my help and delivered me from the sword of Pharaoh."
So, dear friends, we continue our series on the biblical birds. But you might ask, where is a bird in these 2 readings? And the bird is indeed present there, but it is somehow hidden under the name of Moses' wife. In the English translations from this earliest times of Genevan Bible, it is transliterated, her name, as Zipporah. And you have it there in a Bible or in the bulletins. And even Jewish translations of the Bible into English use this rendition, and they should know better, I think, because in Hebrew it is not Zipporah, but it's Tzipporah. Tzipporah. And I was just talking about it with children. That was an onomatopoetic word, which simply means a bird. And of course, I need to explain onomatopoetic. That is that it is a word derived from or mimicking the sound around us. I mentioned it in the Friday message. In Aramaic language, it would be tzipar. In Arabic, it'll be utzfur. In Ugaritic, itzaru. In Akkadian, itzuru. Whistling or twittering will be in Arabic tzafira, and in Akkadian tsabaru. All these words are interconnected and are associated with that birds making sound like chirping. We have it like sharper into that, going into ch instead of ts. But it is the same sound and the same meaning for all these words. The wife of Moses was called a she-bird. It's a female version for the bird. But more specifically, a female songbird, just based upon that name. But why? What is the significance? What is the meaning of her name? It had to be somehow important. She is mentioned in the Bible directly only 3 times. and always she is named. More prominent characters, more extended characters appearing, especially female characters, remain often nameless. She is named. Sure, she was a wife of Moses, and in the Hebrew Bible you cannot go any higher than that, but still, she appears just 3 times, and all those 3 times she is named. Was she tiny, petite, like a small bird, providing a contrast of larger-than-life figure of Moses? Then we will have a towering Moses and his wife Birdie. Or was it for her voice? Mind you, her name was Songbird, derived from twittering and chirping. So was it again to provide a contrast between the booming, revelatory leadership voice of her legendary husband and over against that gentle chirping? Was it for contrast? Was it for humorous effect? Or to give us some kind of a family balance? The first story in which we meet her is almost an ancient Near East cliché, I would say. It happens at a well where young people hang up, check each other out, meet and bond, and maybe even hedge. And we have a number of examples of that kind in the Bible. Zipporah and her sisters are indeed like a flock of little birds, easily scattered by some local rednecks, those shepherds. But that gives Moses an opportunity to show off, to demonstrate his sense of justice and ability to defend it, to demonstrate that, but also that to show that even though this young man, was brought up as an Egyptian aristocrat, he still understands farm work and can do hard work. So that is one example. Zipporah is also like an exotic bird. That background is always kind of highlighted. She was from Midian, and her father Jethro, Reuel, was not just anyone, but a priest from that nation, from that foreign tribe, perhaps. Moses was married to a high-born Midianite bride, we hear from it. That was almost unthinkable in later times. Midianites were biblical archenemies, and there are several reports of genocide against them, divinely sanctioned. And it needs to be here, you see, that we need to take Bible with a grain of salt, or more than that, probably a pile of salt. Firstly, we see that, they did not disappear. So even though there were at least 2 reports of genocide against them, they were still there. The other thing is that here we have Moses' wife, a mother of his children, and she is Midianite. Yet Moses had this exotic wife, exactly. And the context of our second reading is illuminating. It goes even further. We could not read the entire chapter, because we'll be here for much longer. I will summarize it. So after the Exodus, crossing of the sea, the father-in-law returns to Moses, and with him his exotic wife and 2 sons by that time. And he congratulated him for the victory over the Egyptian army. And while observing how Moses ruled and administered the new Israelite nation, this foreign father-in-law gave to Moses some vital, practical, administrative advice. So not only did Moses have a foreign exotic wife, but the organization and administration of the people of God was borrowed from this foreign inspiration and foreign influence. And there is a lesson for us: love and pragmatism together exceed xenophobia. And free exotic birds can teach us to open our eyes to broader world and global influences, and it is all right. I said that Zipporah is mentioned 3 times in the Bible. And up till now, we talked only about the first and the last instance. The middle one is probably the strangest and most difficult to interpret or understand, the most enigmatic. Right after Moses met God in the burning bush, and after he was called and sent to Egypt with a mission to liberate his people, on his way now back to Egypt, because he is coming from Midianite, that'll be like northwest Saudi Arabia area. He is coming back to Egypt, and on his way back to Egypt is this 3rd story, or in the order of the biblical text, it is the middle one, where the Zipporah is mentioned. And it is from Exodus chapter 4, verses 24 through 26. And I'll read it again, mostly from New Revised Standard Version with small changes. On the way, at a place where they spend the night, they are returning back to Egypt, the Lord met him, understand Moses, and tried to kill him. But Zipporah took a flint and cut off her son's foreskin and touched his feet with it and said, "Truly you are a bridegroom of blood to me, so let him alone." It was then said, "A bridegroom of blood by circumcision." That's the reading. I told you it's enigmatic, it's strange. No one really knows. Even if you read the theological treatises and commentaries and so on, they are kind of pulling their hair and they are saying, oh, this is this theory, that's that theory. What is it? What is this? What does it even mean? No one really knows. There are many different theories. For me, it is like watching birds, frankly. Here, Zipporah is, or her connection with this text is true to that, because birds also offer to us a window to a very distant past. It is known, and I think that you might have heard that also, that birds are our current dinosaurs. If you see a bird, you are seeing a minuscule flying dinosaur based upon anatomy and physiology and probably even colors and maybe songs. Who knows? Those are not recording. But dinosaurs, we know, at least some of them, had feathers. So if you see the bird, you see the current minuscule dinosaur. and it is a window into a deep past. And this, in a similar way, this story which is in front of us, as enigmatic and problematic and dark as it is, this bizarre, strange text is like that. A window into a very distant, this time religious past, when God acted like a dark demon. That's present in the Bible. God is there not just an all-loving, but in that case, it is like God being after Moses, maybe preparing him. You know, it will not be a stroll in a park, what you are starting to do. And that's one of the ways of people are trying to interpret that. And when circumcision was an obscure marriage ritual, think about it, not yet lifted to prominence as an embodiment of a religious identity of Jewish people and their exclusivity. I did a podcast about it last week with Peter Rinaldi, and you can go and listen over there. You know, it'll be another sermon, so I just want to highlight this. So this is the story of Tzipporah, a legendary wife of Moses whose name means she-bird or she-songbird. And like birds, she opens for us the window to extreme old past. She also opens our eyes and minds to wide horizons of distant places and cultures. She is shy and brave at the same time, soft yet melodiously spoken, small but powerful, and in fact, great. Only 3 times mentioned in the legends of Moses, but essential, just like the birds are essential in our world.